3:15 in the morning, deep within the Crimean Peninsula, a heavily loaded Russian logistics train rumbles along the iron rails, carrying thousands of gallons of aviation fuel toward a fortified depot. The engineer in the lead locomotive adjusts the cabin heater, sipping from a thermos of black tea to fight off the pre-dawn chill. He checks his gauges, notes the steady rhythm of the steel wheels beneath him, and stares out into the pitch-black landscape. This is a route he has driven dozens of times before, a critical lifeline feeding the southern front, and tonight feels exactly like all the other quiet nights. 400 kilometers away, his superiors are sleeping soundly, confident in the impenetrable dome of layered air defenses that cover this entire sector. They have every reason to feel secure, relying on sophisticated early warning radars and automated anti-aircraft batteries that have stood watch without fail. What the engineer drinking his tea does not know, and what the sleeping generals could never have predicted, is that a synchronized swarm of Ukrainian strike drones has already breached the first invisible perimeter. In exactly 1 hour and 12 minutes, the illusion of safety will be violently shattered, proving that even the most expensive military shields have fatal blind spots when an adversary knows exactly where to look. Before we continue, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. The mission unfolding in the dark skies above the Black Sea coast is a brutal race against a shrinking mathematical window. The Ukrainian planners have assigned a strike package of long-range drones to cover a distance of 160 kilometers, flying low and fast to intercept the moving fuel train before it can reach the protective cover of the primary depot. This is not a simple assassination of a stationary target, which would allow for a leisurely approach and static coordinates. Instead, it is a high-speed interception problem that demands extreme precision and relentless urgency. If the drones arrive just 4 minutes late, the train will slip behind a secondary layer of electronic warfare, baffles, and physical concrete barriers, making a clean hit nearly impossible. The drones themselves are not technological marvels of stealth engineering. They are relatively inexpensive, propeller-driven machines built for endurance and payload capacity rather than radar and visibility. But what they lack in raw speed and stealth coding, they make up for in brilliant tactical choreography. The operators in a hidden bunker are playing a high-stakes game of geometric chess, calculating velocity, fuel consumption, and the precise rotational sweeps of Russian defense antennas to slip these cheap plastic and composite aircraft through the tiniest gaps in the electromagnetic net. To survive the initial approach, the drones do not rely on advanced jamming pods or exotic radar-absorbent materials, but rather on the ancient geometry of the Earth itself. The flight path has been meticulously programmed to exploit a specific, narrow valley mapped out by satellite intelligence weeks in advance. By diving deep into this topographical trench, the drones physically break the line of sight with the massive Russian early warning radars positioned on the elevated ridges. Radar waves travel in straight lines, and no matter how many millions of dollars a system costs, it cannot look through solid granite and dirt. As the drones skim just 50 feet above the valley floor, their engines echoing off the damp stone walls, they become ghosts to the sweeping electromagnetic beams above. This brilliant use of geography neutralizes the most powerful surveillance tools in the Russian arsenal without firing a single shot or emitting a single jamming frequency. The terrain masking is a calculated gamble, requiring the drones to fly dangerously close to the ground, where a single unpredictable gust of wind or an uncharted power line could end the mission instantly. Yet this extreme low-altitude profile is the only way to bypass the outer warning ring and position the strike package for the critical final sprint toward the unsuspecting fuel train. Even when the drones finally pop up from the valley and briefly enter the radar coverage zone, they do not immediately trigger a massive base-wide alarm. This is where the limitations of modern detection software become the primary weapon of the attacker. The Russian radar systems are actively looking for high-velocity threats like cruise missiles or fighter jets, utilizing Doppler shift technology to measure the speed of incoming objects. Because the Ukrainian drones are flying incredibly low and relatively slow, their radar cross-section and speed profile look almost identical to a flock of large birds or commercial civilian trucks driving down a coastal highway. The radar computer is forced to deal with ambiguity, applying probabilistic filtering to decide what is a lethal threat and what is harmless environmental clutter. If the system alerts the operators to every single slow-moving object in the area, the screens would become an unusable blizzard of false alarms, rendering the entire defense network paralyzed by noise. Therefore, the algorithms are intentionally designed to ignore these specific ambiguous signatures, tossing them into the digital trash bin. The drone designers knew exactly how this software logic worked, intentionally building an aircraft that mimics the background noise of everyday life to slide perfectly through the automated filters. But technology is only half of the defensive equation. The other half relies entirely on human cognition, and human minds are highly susceptible to doubt. Inside the glowing command vehicle of a nearby air defense battery, a 24-year-old radar operator stares at his crowded screen, suddenly noticing a faint, intermittent blip that the software has flagged as a low-probability anomaly. The track is erratic, fading in and out as the drones crest small hills and dip back into the ground clutter. He reaches for his headset to sound the general alert, a protocol that would scramble interceptor helicopters and wake up 2 entire command regiments. But his hand hovers over the button as he hesitates, crippled by the sheer workload of monitoring dozens of civilian and military signals simultaneously. In a rigid military hierarchy where triggering a massive false alarm for a flock of seagulls could result in severe disciplinary action, the safest bureaucratic choice is often to wait for more concrete data. He watches the faint blip blink twice more before it disappears completely below the horizon line. He convinces himself it was just a software glitch or a trick of the coastal weather, exhaling deeply and picking up his coffee cup. In that 5-second window of human uncertainty, the operator has unwittingly given the Ukrainian strike package the final clearance it needed to proceed toward the fuel train Gemini hat gesagt. 4:10 in the morning. The drone swarm is now 45 kilometers from the target, leaving the protective cover of the valley and entering the most dangerous phase of the flight. The Russian electronic warfare battalions do not need to see the drones to fight them. They simply flood the entire electromagnetic spectrum with localized noise. A massive ground-based jamming system, consuming enough electricity to power a small town, unleashes a torrent of static across the global positioning system frequencies. This is not a surgical strike, but a brute force wave of interference designed to drown out the faint, delicate signals coming from satellites 20,000 kilometers in space. For a typical commercial drone, losing this satellite link is an immediate death sentence, triggering an automatic landing sequence or causing it to wander aimlessly until its battery dies. The Russian operators watching their electronic warfare screens nod in satisfaction as the jamming wave washes over the coastal sector, confident that anything flying blindly in that airspace has just been rendered completely deaf and hopelessly lost. They are relying on the assumption that cheap drones are entirely dependent on external navigation. But the Ukrainian engineers anticipated this exact electronic wall of static months ago. As the satellite signals abruptly vanish, the onboard computers inside the strike package seamlessly transition to their internal inertial navigation systems. Deep inside the plastic fuselages, tiny silicon gyroscopes and accelerometers take over, calculating the pitch, roll, and physical momentum of the aircraft in real time. This is absolute resilience through mechanical redundancy, allowing the drones to navigate entirely in the dark without a single outside transmission. However, this internal dead reckoning is a double-edged sword. Every tiny vibration from the propeller and every slight gust of crosswind introduces a microscopic error into the calculation, an error that compounds with every passing second. To fight this accumulating positional drift, the onboard processors utilize complex Kalman filtering, an advanced mathematical algorithm that constantly weighs and reconciles the conflicting sensor data to guess the drone's true location. Yet, even with this brilliant computational balancing act, the uncertainty grows. Over a distance of 50 kilometers, a drift of just 1% means missing the target completely. 4:22 in the morning. Realizing that brute force jamming might not be enough to drop specialized military hardware, the Russian electronic warfare units deploy a far more sophisticated and insidious countermeasure. They transition from simply blocking the navigation frequencies to actively spoofing them, broadcasting a counterfeit satellite signal stronger than the real one. The goal is no longer to blind the drones, but to lie to them, feeding the flight computers perfectly formatted but entirely fake coordinates that would slowly steer the swarm directly into the side of a mountain or out over the open ocean. It is a digital hijacking designed to manipulate the machine's absolute trust in its instruments. But the Ukrainian flight algorithms are programmed with a deep sense of mechanical paranoia. The drones immediately detect the spoofing attempt by cross-checking the counterfeit satellite data against their own physical reality. The fake signals suggest an impossible, instantaneous jump in altitude and velocity that violates the laws of physics. And the incoming radio waves all arrive from a single, uniform direction on the ground rather than multiple satellites in orbit. Recognizing the deception, the drones isolate and ignore the poisoned data, continuing their silent hunt. 4:35 in the morning. The drone swarm is now within 20 kilometers of the projected intercept point, but the accumulated navigational drift has widened their search area to a dangerously large grid. Trusting autonomous software to find a specific, fast-moving train in the dark is no longer mathematically viable. In the bunker hundreds of kilometers away, human operators retake manual control of the lead elements, relying on a narrow, heavily encrypted video feed that punches through the remaining atmospheric interference. They are flying blind through a low-resolution grayscale world until they activate the thermal imaging payloads. Instantly, the cold, dead landscape of the Crimean interior transforms into a glowing map of environmental physics. Trees and rocks render in dark, muted tones, while the immense heat generated by two massive diesel-electric locomotives pulling thousands of tons of steel burns a brilliant, unmistakable white across the screens. The operators do not need perfectly precise coordinates anymore. They simply follow the blazing thermal signature winding its way through the darkness. The target has been visually acquired, and the final, fatal sprint to the railway line begins. 4:42 in the morning, the glowing white thermal signature of the Russian fuel train stretches across the operator screens, presenting a critical tactical choice. The drone commanders could simply follow the train to the fortified depot and wait for it to stop, turning the massive fuel cars into a stationary, mathematically simple target. But maximizing strategic disruption means choosing the harder path. Hitting the train while it is moving at 90 kilometers per hour through a narrow choke point will not only destroy the fuel, but also fuse thousands of tons of molten steel to the tracks, effectively paralyzing the entire railway artery for weeks. To achieve this moving strike, the operators must overcome a brutal physical constraint known as communication latency. The encrypted video feed and control signals take a fraction of a second to bounce from the drones to the relay nodes and back to the bunker. By the time the operator sees the train on the screen, it has already moved several meters forward. To hit a specific fuel car, they cannot aim where the target is. They must predict exactly where it will be. It is the equivalent of trying to thread a needle while wearing thick gloves and looking through a delayed security camera. The operators adjust their flight paths, calculating the velocity of the train and the lag of their own controls, diving toward the precise intersection of time and space. 4:45 in the morning. The airspace around the railway is not completely undefended, as a $15 million Russian point defense system sits near the rail junction, is specifically deployed to protect this critical infrastructure. The radar arrays immediately detect the incoming swarm as they break cover for the final attack run, spinning up the engagement algorithms and slewing the massive autocannons toward the threat. But this heavily armored behemoth was fundamentally designed to shoot down high-altitude fighter jets and supersonic cruise missiles, not 50-pound plastic drones skimming just 10 meters above the dirt. The engagement geometry turns into a catastrophic disadvantage for the defenders. Because the drones are flying so incredibly low, the mechanical turrets hit their minimum depression limits. The guns simply cannot aim low enough without firing into the ground or hitting nearby structures. Frantically trying to compensate, the defense system unleashes a continuous, deafening wall of 30mm tracer fire into the darkness, attempting to saturate the air with shrapnel. However, this high rate of fire quickly creates a fatal physical limitation. Within seconds, the weapon barrels begin to rapidly overheat, warping the metal and forcing the automated safety protocols to temporarily halt the firing sequence. In its desperate attempt to swat a swarm of metallic insects, the multi-million-dollar system effectively chokes on its own immense firepower. 4:47 in the morning. A single defensive missile manages to find its mark, detonating proximity shrapnel that shreds the lead drone into a cloud of burning composite fiberglass. But the remaining swarm instantly registers the loss and adapts its flight geometry in real time. The trailing drones drop even lower, practically brushing the top of the tree line, and fan out to approach the train from multiple conflicting angles. This coordinated dispersion overwhelms the remaining automated defenses, forcing the Russian targeting computers to rapidly switch between targets without achieving a solid lock on any of them. The first drone impacts the front locomotive, precisely striking the engineering compartment and neutralizing the train's forward momentum. Exactly 3 seconds later, 2 more drones slam into the middle fuel cars, their shaped charges punching through the thick steel walls and igniting the aviation fuel inside. The resulting detonation is not a single cinematic explosion, but a violent, cascading chain reaction. As the pressurized liquid expands and catches fire, the thermal shock wave jumps from one car to the next, ripping open the heavy steel cylinders like fragile tin cans. The entire middle section of the train instantly transforms into a towering river of fire, illuminating the dark Crimean landscape with a blinding orange glow that can be seen for miles. 4:49 in the morning. The final drone in the strike package has sustained heavy shrapnel damage from the earlier barrage, its primary electric motor whining before failing completely. But at a speed of over 120 kilometers per hour, gravity and physics take over where the engineering ends. Carried entirely by its own ballistic momentum, the silent, powerless airframe glides through the thick black smoke and impacts the rear of the train, just as the blazing wreckage begins to slide off the tracks and tear into the outer perimeter of the storage depot.